Hello everyone! In this week's video, I'm drawing two of my viewers' gacha characters. It has been a pretty long time since I did a video like this. Many of you have been requesting I do another one. So I posted on all of my different social media accounts that I'd be drawing your gacha characters. And many of you submitted characters for me to draw. Thank you so much to everyone that has sent in their characters. Also, this video is a bit different than my usual I draw your gacha character videos. I usually draw the illustrations digitally, but today I'll be working on them traditionally. Arteza was super awesome and sent me some new art supplies to try out, and I thought I'd use them for this video. So the biggest things they sent me were two marker sets. The first set is the EverBlend Ultra Art Markers, and they are in manga tones. I thought this set seemed pretty fitting for me. There are 36 colors in total, and these markers have a chisel nib and a bullet nib. The second set is the EverBlend Ultra Art Markers in tropical tones. This set also includes 36 colors, but these markers are a bit different than the previous ones. They have a brush nib. Brush nibs are very nice for creating nice smooth blends between colors, so many artists, including myself, love to use brush nibs. Some of the other things Arteza sent me are the 12-pack of white acrylic markers and the 3-pack of white gel pens that come in a variety of sizes. You can use these white acrylic markers and gel pens to add white accents, highlights, fix mistakes, or draw on top of darker colors. And lastly, we have the marker paper pad. It is 9 by 12 inches and includes 50 sheets of marker paper. The paper is very smooth, so it should work nicely for markers. It even includes this protective sheet that you can place in between pages so the markers won't bleed through to the other page. So that's really nice. So real quick, I'm going to swatch the markers because I want to know what all of the colors look like when I apply them to the paper. I'm starting by swatching the manga tone set. Also, these are alcohol-based markers. Alcohol-based markers create very smooth layers of color and can be blended together. I feel like this set comes with a lovely variety of colors that cover a good amount of hues and values. I do kind of wonder if there are maybe too many grays, but if you like to use grays, these would come in handy. Next, I'm swatching the tropical tone set. These have the brush nib, and they are also alcohol-based. One thing I do want to comment about is that these markers are very juicy. They seem to have a lot of ink in them, which is a good thing, but one of them actually overflowed a bit and I had to get a scrap piece of paper and use up the extra ink that was in the nib. I only had one marker do this, thankfully. None of the other markers did this. Once again, I'm very pleased with the colors in this set, and there are a nice variety of colors. I feel like these two sets kind of complement each other nicely. They kind of have the same colors, but they're all kind of in different hues and values. So I ended up with a lot of different colors that I can use for shading. So now that we've taken a look at all the supplies I'll be using, let's start drawing some gacha characters. This first character is created by Liquidtaz Cruz 2. I'm sorry if I'm saying your name wrong. The character's name is Eleanor, and she is a 17-year-old alien from the world of Elios. She is very calm and nice, but she is also really sensitive. She enjoys watching musicals, reading books about other worlds, and traveling to other dimensions. So let's start drawing Eleanor. So we are starting with me transferring my sketch to the marker paper. I'm doing this by using my light pad. I tape my sketch to my light pad and then place the marker paper over my sketch. I then draw over the sketch with color pencils. I wanted the line art to be soft, so that's why I'm using color pencils. I'm also using different colors for different parts of the line art. Like for the skin, I'm using a green color pencil, and for the hair, I'm using a purple color pencil. After I finish drawing over the entire sketch, we now have this. So I'm going to start with coloring the hair. I was feeling a bit nervous about coloring the skin, so I decided to start with the hair. I'm starting by filling in the undershadow. For this area, I'm using the color P15. Also, if the marker barrel is white, it is from the manga tone set, and if the barrel is dark gray, it is from the tropical tone set. Just so you know which colors I'm using from which set. One thing I did need to be careful of when using the markers is that they do kind of like to feather out, especially if I apply a lot of ink to the paper. So like if I draw up to the edge of my line art, the markers will kind of feather out past it. This is marker paper, and kind of the point of marker paper is that the ink has an easy time moving around so we can blend it. Well, in this case, the ink is able to move around a bit too much. So when coloring, I try to not go right up to the edge. I'll color a little bit away from the edge, and then the ink will kind of move up to the edge on its own, if that makes sense. This kind of only happens when I apply a lot of ink to the paper with like the really juicy markers, because a lot of ink is filling the paper, so it kind of needs to travel out because the paper can't like contain it, if that makes sense. But for the markers that weren't super juicy, the ink would kind of stay in place more. For the shadow of the bangs, I'm using BL00. I wanted the shadow to be a bit lighter for the bangs, so that's why I chose this color instead of using the P15. Then I started to fill in the rest of the hair with P17. It's a bit lighter than P15. I want the coloring to be really smooth, so I'm trying my best to move quickly, but also evenly fill in the area. Also, to make the coloring a little bit more interesting, I decided to use RP09 around the edge. It's a light pinkish color, and I thought it'd be a really nice addition to the purple because I thought it'd give it kind of a neat lighting effect and make it look a little bit more dynamic or pretty. I don't know, I just thought it'd look nice. I really liked working on this character's hair. It's really different. I like how big and fluffy it is. It's kind of like a big cloud. Right when I saw this character, I was really excited to draw her hair. So I was listening to music with my earbuds in while I was recording this. I was really into the music, so I didn't hear my camera turn off. Because of this, the camera didn't record me filling in the base color for the skin. So yeah, sorry about that. I was a bit nervous after filling in the skin because the closest color I had was this green, but it's quite a bit darker than the original color that the character has. I wasn't sure how I was feeling about it, but I decided to just keep going. Maybe I would like it later on. I felt like this green was a little too green, so to maybe help it feel a little bit more on the bluey side, I used the color BG19. It is a light teal color, and I'm going to use it for the shadows. As I was adding this blue color, I did start to like the colors a bit more. Eleanor is an alien, so I think it's okay for her to look pretty green. That's the thing with working with traditional art supplies. I don't have access to every color. I have to use the closest colors I have to try and match the best I can. For the eyes to help them pop a bit more, I used G22 to make the eyelashes darker. I was kind of holding my breath while I was doing this. I was trying to be super careful to not mess up the eyes and the face. Thankfully, I was able to get a pretty fine line with the brush nib. I was applying a super light amount of pressure and just coloring with the very tip of the brush to fill in the eyelashes. After outlining the eyes, I fill in the irises with a light green. It is the same color I used for the skin. I then use G15 to add a light shadow and fill in the pupil. Then I use G22 again for the darkest shadows and to fill in the pupil even darker. A lot of times when coloring eyes, I'll leave a white spot for the highlight. It can be kind of troublesome to draw around the highlight. So this time I didn't, I just filled in the iris completely. I'll add in the highlights later with the white acrylic pink pens. So around this point in my art process, I started to hear my little brother Jack crying. He was downstairs with the rest of my family. Jack cries pretty often. You know, he'll throw a fit for something he wants, or if something doesn't go his way, he'll cry. So I didn't think too much of it. Well, after a little bit, my sister Ruby comes up and tells me I need to come down and help my mom get something out of Jack's foot.
Mom wants you to help get something out of Jack's foot.
I told her I'd be down in just a second after I finished filling in the swing. I didn't want to stop halfway or else it would be really blotchy, and I knew it would only take me like 30 more seconds to fill it in. Well, Ruby goes down, and like right afterwards, Reagan comes up and says that my mom is going to take Jack to the hospital. I was kind of shocked and asked what was in his foot. I assumed it was just a small splinter, so I didn't know why he needed to go to the hospital. Well, Jack got a super big chunk of wood basically impaled into his foot. So after my mom left to take him to the hospital, I kept working on this illustration because there was nothing I could really do to help. But you can imagine my mind was a bit distracted thinking about Jack, and I ended up coloring the shirt wrong. The collar is supposed to be white and the shirt is a light blue. Well, I made the collar blue and the shirt white, so sorry about that. I was thinking about Jack's poor foot. Also, Jack is doing fine, thankfully. To get the chunk of wood out, the doctor basically had to perform a mini surgery on his foot. Thankfully, his foot doesn't seem to be too sore today. He is walking around and he seems to be feeling just fine, and he's back to his normal self. I felt really bad for him when he had to go through all that, but thankfully he's okay now. He's a tough little guy. So after coloring everything with the markers, I added the finishing details with the white paint pens and gel pens. I also used color pencils to add some extra shading in areas that I felt like needed it. I always like to go in with color pencil because I like how much control I have of them. And here's the finished picture of Eleanor. I had a lot of fun coloring her. I've never colored green skin, so that was kind of different. I also really loved shading her crystal horn. That was a lot of fun. Thank you so much, Liquiditaz Cruz 2, for letting me draw your character. This next character was created by WolfGirl023K. The character's name is Dice. She is a robot that is sworn to protect her owner. She can be hostile when needed, but most of the time she is chill. So let's start drawing Dice. Once again, I'm transferring my sketch to the marker paper with my light pad. This time I'm using a light gray color pencil. I wasn't focusing on making finished line art. My plan was to kind of just transfer my drawing and worry about the line art afterwards because I wasn't totally sure what I wanted to do. Because I am using a light gray pencil, we can't really see what I'm doing, so we'll move on to the next step. After transferring my sketch, I decided to outline the eyes and some parts of the picture with my black Arteza tween marker. I really love to use these markers for line art because they have a super fine nib. I've mentioned these in previous videos, and I've also talked about how these liners are water-based. And because they're water-based, I need to color with my markers first and then add the line art later so it doesn't smudge. Well, I randomly decided to test if these tween markers smudge when I add marker on top of them, and it seems like they don't smudge actually. I was really shocked because these are water-based, which usually means that they will smudge when they come in contact with alcohol-based markers. But they don't for some reason. I was really happy to figure this out because now I don't have to worry about my line art smudging with the markers. So yay! For Dice's pose, I decided to have her kind of lean over and she's holding a die because her name is Dice. So I thought it'd be fun to include a die in the picture. I don't want to offend the creator, but Dice looks a little crazy, but she's also kind of cute at the same time, so I was kind of excited to draw her. I thought her concept of being a robot was really neat, and I think her design is cool. Also, I'm not going to outline everything with the black tween marker. I wanted some parts of the line art to be light or not as harsh, so I also used a dark gray tween marker for some areas. I wasn't sure how I wanted to outline the hair, so I decided to not outline it yet and just go in with color. Dice's color scheme is monochromatic, so I only used blacks and grays when coloring her in. For all of the grays, I'm using the cool gray markers from the Tropical Tone set. For the hair, I'm using the lightest gray, CG08. For areas where I want to add some shadows to the hair, I use CG06. When blending colors, I try to work as quickly as I can. If you want colors to blend, you want to work while the area is wet. So I'll put down my darker color and then blend it out with my lighter color, and I try to switch back and forth as fast as I can. I often leave the markers uncapped so that way I can switch back and forth really quickly. I did a lot of blending on the hair buns. I wanted them to look very round in shape, and to help them look round, I apply a lot of shadow around the bottom of the buns. I kind of had a hard time understanding Dice's hairstyle. I tried my best to interpret it in my style and kind of make it look the same. Next, I'm filling in the black areas of her outfit. These areas have white stripes that go down them. I'll add the stripes in later with the white acrylic paint pens. The illustrations in this video are very large, a lot larger than what I'm used to working at. Because they are pretty big, filling in areas with solid color would take quite a long time, but I'm glad I did make them as big as they are. It allowed me to go into detail without the details needing to be like super duper tiny. Also, it's kind of neat having a really big piece of finished art. A lot of times my finished illustrations are done on the computer, so I always think it's kind of fun when I have a physical finished illustration that I can hold and touch. It sounds kind of weird if I put it that way, but yeah, it's neat actually seeing it not on a screen. So next I was filling in the black polka dots. I tried my best to keep these as fairly perfect circles, but they do get a little wonky. I don't have much else to say about the dots. I'm just kind of filling them in, so we'll move on to the next step. I felt like the white parts of the picture needed some shading, but my lightest gray marker felt like it would be too dark to shade the skin, so I decided to use gray colored pencils instead. The colored pencils give me more control of how light or dark I want things, so I felt like they were a good option for shading in parts like the skin. I also used the black color pencils to tighten things up and make them a little bit more finished. The color pencil isn't as harsh as the tweed marker, so I thought it'd be good to use it on the hair because I wanted it to feel a little softer. I ended up applying quite a lot of color pencil, a lot more than I thought I would. I especially used it on the face to help it have more form. I mostly apply it around the nose, eyes, and under the brow area. One of the final steps is to add the white stripes. I was a little nervous to add these because I wanted them to look nice and hopefully not wonky and weird. So to help calm my nerves, I sketch out the lines with a white color pencil first. Also, her chest is kind of overlapping her torso because she is leaning forward, so I didn't make the lines connect between the chest and her torso. The ones on her torso are kind of shifted over to the left a bit. I thought doing the lines like this kind of helped convey that her chest was overlapping the torso. After sketching them out, I go over with the paint pen. At first I kind of just went straight onto the paper with the pen, but I found I was able to make the paint look thicker if I didn't drag the pen along the paper. I got a more opaque result if I just lightly skimmed the paper with the tip of my pen. Adding these lines was actually a lot of fun. I feel like they really added to the black areas and made them more interesting. So I had a lot of fun adding them. Lastly is the background. I outlined the edge of the illustration with a black marker. I purposely made it look kind of rough and wonky. I don't know, I kind of just thought it would give a feeling that I wanted compared to what a clean line would do. Plus, it's easier to draw. The page was feeling pretty empty, so I decided to fill it in with a bunch of different square shapes. I thought maybe the squares could kind of represent dice. Plus, in the outfit we had circles and stripes, so I thought maybe I could add in the squares. And here's the finished picture. I thought because this picture was black and white that it wouldn't take me very long to color, but it actually took me a pretty long time to finish. But I had a lot of fun drawing dice. I hope you like my drawing of her Wolf Girl 023K, and thank you so much for letting me draw her. Also, thank you so much to Arteza for sending me these supplies. I had so much fun using them. And before we end this video, I want to say thank you to my lovely patrons over on Patreon. Thank you so much for supporting my work. It means so much to me. And thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you all next week. Bye!